Hey dreamers, what's up? Welcome back to the channel, and today I wanted to go through my process of how I make my chibis, because as we all know, I be making the chibis all the time. I make Star Wars chibis, pop culture chibis, even Marta chibis, whatever strikes me as fun, quirky, and just in the moment. But I also do more than just chibis, but we all know that. Anyway, recently got done watching the TV show One Piece, and I really enjoyed it, so I was like, I've got to make some character creation chibis of this. So of course I started off with Luffy, and now I want to move on to Zoro. And I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to walk you through how I make my chibis. So of course I got to start off with a notebook and a pencil. Now I don't necessarily have a particular pencil brand that I use. This was given to me by some members of my family from Germany, and it works, so I just use it. Anyway, we're also going to be needing a eraser. Now I will say I'm a little bit biased here because this is Faber-Castell. It is also another product from Germany, so it's great. Anyway, I am going to be needing a pencil sharpener, and yes, fam, we need a good pencil sharpener. I'm using a Prismacolor one. It comes with 2 different blades. It's really important to have nice, sharp blades. Anyway, let's get that out of the way. I like to have a nice stencil for the head, and I got this from a fellow YouTuber, RevKev, links in the description box down below. Check out his channel. But I won this in a competition, and it's the perfect size for the chibi heads that I create, and so I use it every single time. I used to use a mug. It was perfect. It was round, but at the same time, it just wasn't flat, so it made it a little bit more difficult, and this is nice and flat. It's perfect. I use it every single time for the chibis. Now, what's really important before you even press pencil to paper is finding a reference photo of whatever it is you're going to want to draw. So I went on the internet, and because this character in the live action show is actually based off of the anime character, I thought it would be a good idea to have a reference from both to draw upon for this character. I really wanted to make him look more like the live action character because that's what gripped me the most, but I still wanted to take traits from the original. Gotta pay the respects, you know? So once I figure out exactly what the vision's going to be, then I just kind of put it up to the side and then get started with my tracing. Now, what's really important when you start sketching is not to press too harshly against the paper, because this is just going to be your rough draft. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to change things around because your vision might just change for this character. So you want to have very thin, very soft lines before you go into the really rugged final outcome of this project. Now, what I do once I get that perfect head shape in there is that I start with the cheekbones. This kind of helps me to know where exactly I need to place the eyes, as well as the nose later on. It also helps me to distinguish what kind of angle am I placing this face. A lot of times people sketch and they do the lines through the head. I don't really do that too often with my chibis. I just kind of roll with it. Maybe I should be doing it more often, but it's not always how I work. I just kind of go with it. And if you're definitely just starting out, you might want to try the basics of everything. But from the cheek, I then go into the chin, which goes into the jaw, and then I transfer into the ear. The thing about ears on chibis that I have noticed is it just makes it a little bit more fun, a little more whimsical, depending on the shape of the ear. So with this one, I decided not to give it too much of a lobe. I thought his character looked really cool with the harsh line for the earlobe, and then I actually flattened the top part of the ear so it was a little bit more pointed. Not too elf-like, but this character just struck me as a little more elf-like without being too elf-like. So whenever I get the cheek, the jaw, the chin, and the ear done, that's when I take off and start doing the body work. Now, this isn't necessarily the easiest pose to do. I decided to just go all out because I just wanted to show you my process. But if you guys would be interested in knowing how to make simple and easy chibis, then let me know in the comment section. Is that something you would like more of? Is that a tutorial you would be interested in? Maybe you wanted to try to do chibis and you just don't know exactly where to start, and that's totally understandable because sometimes it's overwhelming. And honestly, chibis are a great way to get started in learning how to draw people and learning anatomy and different things like that, because of the fact that everything on the chibis is to an extreme. right? It's a little bit ridiculous. Everything's a little bit exaggerated, but that's okay because it gives us a lot of leeway in learning how the body works. So that way we're not so focused on the exactness of the human shape, but just learning basic form and structure. Like for example, this one was a little bit tough because of the fact that I had his arm coming down in front of him, making a slashing motion with the one sword. And then I knew that I wanted to have this really, aggressive but regal pose with the other arm, having the blade upwards. And a lot of times I don't do the accessories necessarily first. I typically would do the head, then the body, the arms, and then the legs. But for this one, because of the pose in and of itself, I made sure that I put the accessories, just at least the swords, in there first. That kind of helped me to know also where to put the legs. It just kind of depends on the project, honestly. Now, as I said before, you're going to be doing a lot of erasing, and that's okay because this is your first draft. This is your first layer of your art project, and you're going to be moving things around and changing. So you, again, don't want to have things too permanent. Don't get too attached to things, even if they look cool, because they might not necessarily be correct. The angle could be really off. So don't get too attached to the way you've drawn things. You can be attached to the idea, but you might need to save a little room, a little wiggle room there. By the way, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So once you have a good foundation for your character, that's when you go in and you clean things up, you add more details to whatever. But this, honestly, is just the first layer. And I want to show you in the next video of how to take your chibis to the next level when it comes to coloring them. In the beginning of my art journey there, when I started to take things a little bit more seriously, getting more expensive products, I would actually do coloring pencils first and then do markers second. But oh no, friends, I have been enlightened. And I have now learned a new trick, if you will, a new method, a new way of enhancing the coloring of my chibis in a different way. So be looking for the second video attached to this one on how you can enhance the coloring of any art project. It doesn't have to be chibis. It can be anything when it comes to coloring pencils and markers. Anyway, guys, that's how I go through the process of making my chibis. I get an idea, I find some reference photos, I plan it out in my head, I use my stencil and just start creating and sketching, not holding too tightly to any ideas, and then put my rough draft on there, and then when I like it, that's when I go in for the details. Also, I'm going to be revamping my Patreon page, and I did make sure that I put some new merch in the Etsy shop, so if you want to purchase any of my artwork, feel free to peruse there. Like I said, I do a lot of pop culture stuff, lots of Star Wars, do some Stargate, doing some superhero stuff, so all good fun. If you want to see more quick edited videos of my creations, you can check me out with the shorts on Instagram or on TikTok. Be sure to be subscribed to the channel if you're new here so that you don't miss anything. Ring that notification bell so it lets you know when part 2 comes out. And of course, like and share if you don't mind. I want to see those happy little thumbs up.